Hi, folks. Welcome to another episode of Film Study. This is Ken McCusick, and it's time for this week's Matchups episode with co-host Frazier DeFar. We're talking about the offense today, and Frazier, kind of a tough loss in week one, but something the Ravens have to turn around and face an absolute must-win in week two, given how tough their early schedule is.
Yes, glad to be here, Ken. Very bittersweet loss against the Chiefs. A lot of good coming out, especially offensively, and some things we definitely need to work on. And like you mentioned, must-win game against Las Vegas.
Okay. So let's see. Would you like to go first? Would you like me to go first in terms of things to discuss?
I can take it. My first matchup on offense is going to be Max Crosby versus the right tackles that we have, whether it be McCary or Rosengarten. He is their most prolific pass rusher, almost like Chris Jones is last week. We did an okay job of containing him. He really had the one big sack fumble, but other than that, a couple pressures here and there. I think if we're able to limit the big plays for Max Crosby and continue to have the same formula of making the other guys beat us, I think that bodes well for our offense.
All right, Max Crosby, I agree. One of the biggest factors to deal with on the Oakland defense. You got a lot of different ways you can do it. You can do it with chips. You can do it with read options. You can do it with double teams. The one I don't think is really going to work is just allowing play after play after play the two right tackles who failed very distinctly against Chris Jones, and both of them were terrible. And there's terrible and there's unbelievably terrible. There's O'Neal Cousins terrible, or James Hurst in his worst terrible. Neither of them was quite that bad. Okay, but they were both bad. They need to have help against Max Crosby, and that again, read options are a great way to do it if you want to slow him down, freeze him. If you just want to force the Raiders into a situation where you've got six gaps and they can only defend four with a four-man pass rush, that's not a bad way either. But you really need to figure a way to do that. And one of the problems I have it with is Jackson has actually been better dealing with blindside pressure during his career, in my opinion. He's been a guy who's done very well getting a bump pressure from the backside. And part of it is the kind of pressures that Stanley's giving up are usually not, bear claw to the back of the neck kind of pressures that'll put a quarterback on the ground quickly. But anyway, Crosby, a very significant threat.
Yes, and I think the main thing that we have to that's the positive in this is that we're able to have Stanley on an island on the left side. Make sure that he did well last week. No peep from him, which is great. I think if he's able to continue that dominance on the left side, having extra protection on the outside against Crosby, because he is more of a get around the cone type rusher rather than an inside rush move. I think Rosengarten needs to, if he's going to be the one going against him, he needs to get his hands on him first and not oversell and understand he has inside help versus trying to protect inside like Falele is not there. So it's going to be big for us to have the tight end chips or even out of the backfield and also get the screen game going just to slow down his pass rush and him having his ears pinned back.
It is a good point you make there, by the way. Neither of our guys are really 12 to 6 blockers. That's very lengthy right tackles. Orlando Brown, other larger, more lumbering guys, McKinney on the left side would be guys who are good 12 to 6 blockers. That's not either of our guys on the right side is that. So they've got to use their mirror, get in front of him and try to not get out athleticism, outspun, out planned by Max Crosby. And I think that's just going to take a lot of help. I think, Patrick Ricard is a player. We only saw 19 snaps in the first week. I think we'll see a lot more this week, and primarily with him lining up in line on that right side.
Yep. And to move on to my second point on offense, I think
I'm sorry. I think it's my turn, right?
Sorry.
Yeah. So I did want to get back to talking about heavies because I think that deals with the passing game and whatnot. But I'm going to give you another one first. Is that they need to manufacture some level 2 opportunities for Henry in this game, and they have multiple ways to get that done as well. But need to use the mesh point. Need to lean on the mesh point. Obviously, that is going to be very important in dealing with Crosby anyway. But if play action is there, take play action. If the opportunity is there to run Henry, do that. If the opportunity is there for Lamar to run, take that. But there should be plays that create space for the Ravens available if they lean on that mesh point. And I think that'll be a big part of how they approach this game. In fact, I think this is the chance we'll see more of that than almost any time the rest of the year.
Yep. And I think we got a little preview against the Chargers last week. I mean, we are running the very graduated version of Greg Roman's offense. So I think the Ravens are going to be polished. They're going to add new wrinkles to the run game that Las Vegas saw last week. And I'm expecting a lot from Derrick Henry. I think the usage we had last week of him was really due to circumstance. You're not going to put him in the run when we're down double digits. It just doesn't make sense.
It's interesting that the strength of the Las Vegas defense is definitely on their defensive line. They have talent there pretty much across the entire line, but Wilkins. They have tremendous, Wilkins in particular, but they have tremendously poor tackling in levels 2 and 3. Mm-hmm. That is a great opportunity, but you have to manufacture L2 opportunities. And that probably means they're playing more point of attack football, not just Ricard at the line of scrimmage on Crosby, which is an opportunity, but Ricard in the backfield where you can have him lead the play more easily instead of being a duo guy. Yeah. I mean, exactly. It works either way, but he can help you either way rather. But I think he's more of a chance to force an 8-man box and even to bust an 8-man box when he's the point of attack guy from somewhere in the backfield.
Yeah, and I really want to see the zone stretch going. I want to see Derrick Henry able to make one cut, go straight downhill. I think that's something that we were able to see last week, maybe 2 or 3 plays, couple for negative, but one big 6-yard gain. I think if we are able to at least threaten with the run throughout the game, like you mentioned, play action should be popping open because it did pop open against the KC initially on the first drive, or no, not the first drive, in the first half. Play action fake to Isaiah Likely on the left side. Those kind of concepts can pop wide open consistently if we're threatening with the run.
That play you're mentioning, the Isaiah Likely, is the 15-yard play you're talking about on the left side, right?
Yes, sir.
That was a play where Kansas City had a 7-man pressure. They had 7-man pass rush, and the Ravens got it blocked up. They got an ATS opportunity. And I'll tell you, 19 years of offensive line scoring, that has happened just a handful of times. Almost always, it's a ball out quick situation. Oftentimes, it's a pressure as well. But, I would say 97% of the outcomes with a 7-man rush end in one of those two things, where it's either ends up being a pressure or a ball out quick, and you almost never see an ATS. But that was a gorgeously blocked play with I think it was Kolar and Henry as the 6th and 7th guys.
Yeah, very encouraging to see those kind of concepts. That's exactly what we're looking to get through with Derrick Henry. Just that threat, making all those linebackers step up and let Likely make his move.
All right, that was your second, right?
Yep. So my second is essentially using play action to further expand our attack based off the run game.
Okay. All right. Definitely lots of opportunities to do that. And I really hope the Ravens lean on that this week. Not a good sign that Harbaugh is not talking directly about what the injury situation is for the Ravens. Now, he should be quiet under all circumstances. Yep. If in business, when you're going through an acquisition, any kind of M&A work you're doing, one of the things that legal always tells you is our only comment is no comment. Okay. And what that means is, doesn't matter what the situation is, your comment needs to be the same, because if it's different in any way, saying, I can't tell you about what's going on under these circumstances, then something's going on. Yeah. And, it can't be a giveaway of it. So, and that's what I'm afraid of with John in terms of his injury talk, is that he's not hiding some problem with Lamar Jackson. Well, if that indeed is the problem, but we'll see. Hopefully there's nothing going on tomorrow. Everything's fine. He certainly played great. Didn't look like he was hurt any time. But you never know. And I hate to hate to have John respond to a question in that way unless he's going to do it all the time that way, which would be the best possible solution.
Yeah, and I think that could be the way going forward. But in terms of Lamar, I'm confident he should be okay. I think we had him running around the yard on Thursday, so you can imagine he should be pretty banged up. I imagine that shouldn't be the game plan going forward. I don't want that to be the game plan going forward. I expect Falele to take another step this week. He played, not going to say well, he played serviceable on Thursday. He had his moments, missing in pass pro. Just the main one that stands out to me is when Linderbaum had head up on the nose guard, and the nose guard swam inside towards Falele, and Falele had his hand in the inside gap, but was looking to the right the whole time. It was just, and then it gave him a pressure on that, and Linderbaum fell because he thought he had help inside. So stuff like that needs to be cleaned up for Falele. Other than that, I think he's getting to the spots, just more push in the run game across the line. I think we're not getting any really good push. We didn't get too much of the run game going, other than the big run for Henry. Mm-hmm. So I think overall, I want to see a more improvement in pass pro and run blocking from the offensive linemen.
Right. Well, that's fair to ask. I thought the results were actually very good for Falele, and if you look at where I downgraded him one place, it's exactly the place everybody is pointing out.
Yep.
Okay. The problem is, and it's not really a problem, but it's the reason why his grade was as good in my system as it was that the weightings of the plays, the value of the plays on which he gave up, had various problems, were relatively low. He gave up a simple pressure to Jones that was personal. That was beaten inside when he looked like he was holding him from behind. I think I gave him a 0 in the block you're talking about with the inside on Linderbaum. And if he got his hands on somebody else, he might have actually gotten a 1 on the play. So I have to go back and take a look at that one. And he got a -1 in terms of a shared penetration. But the things you can do wrong on a run play are all relatively minor as long as you don't get flagged for holding. Yep. If you get flagged for holding, it's big. If you get somebody penetrates through your gap and takes the guy down for a loss of 1, loss of 2, it can hurt if it's on third down, no doubt about it. But in terms of the relative value on the football field, most run plays that go for a negative yard are not that game destroying, that game wrecking, like pass plays that end up being a sack and can get your quarterback hurt, or can get a fumble, or can get a turnover if the quarterback gets rid of the ball under pressure. So, most of the severity of errors is in the pass blocking. But you mentioned that you think you want Falele to take a step forward. I want his results to be 90% as good as they were, and I want him to look better doing it. That's what I want. But I'll be perfectly happy with that.
Trying to look a little more natural out there is the key for Falele.
Boy, that is a big ask. That's a much bigger ask than the results be good. Is that he look natural playing it, because he looks like an elephant doing ballet out there. He's really not a natural kind of anything as an athlete.
Do you think they give Cleveland an opportunity within the first 4 weeks?
It could be. I think, we may see the same kind of thing we've seen before with rotational play sneaking in. I think Falele had a game where you'd say we're sticking with the current system. That's what this first week says to me. Not you got to make a change. Yep. But on the other hand, I thought Cleveland was a guy, and I probably still think Cleveland is a guy. So I'd be happy if they went to some rotational play. I wouldn't put a time limit on it, because I've been disappointed by that so many times in the past with the Ravens, and in particular when it's you kind of expect one player to start, and Harbaugh for whatever reason is going with another. I wouldn't be surprised if Joe D'Alessandris is still got a hand in this. I mean, obviously he's gone and passed, but I think Falele might have been his guy. Okay. So we'll see how this plays out. I know he's very hard on him, and usually when a coach is that hard on a player, it's because he really wants him to succeed. Like, you just, at a certain point, you just give up on a player. If Tim Williams is a work ethic problem, you're a little salty at the podium, and then you cut him. But if in other terms, when you're like just blaring at a guy on the field, It's because you want him, damn it. This guy is like your son, and you want him to succeed, and he's keeps screwing up. So anyway, let me keep going here. The big opportunity the Ravens, I think, have this week, and it goes into the first thing, goes into a lot of play action, goes into a lot of dealing with Crosby, frankly, is to use in excess of 2.0 heavies per play. So they didn't do anywhere near than that in the second week. I think it was about 1.7. I actually had it on the shows and whatnot, but now I've forgotten exactly how many it was per play. But 1.7 heavies per play is not, I think, an optimal number for this Ravens team. I think they've got, two tight ends, obviously, who can catch the football. They've got Patrick Ricard that really want to get on the field in this game. I think you really want to make use of play action. I think Charlie Kolar can help you as a blocker. He could be a guy who's in the backfield. He's a guy as in line. And I think this is the game we're going to see a lot of 13 and 22 and potentially just daring the Raiders to try and stop the offerings between Lamar, play action, and direct Henry runs. But if they can penetrate into level 2 with a point of attack offense, even if eight are in the box, Henry could be very effective.
Yep, and I'm ready to see that side of the run game be unleashed. Like we mentioned earlier in the podcast, just circumstance of the game just didn't give us opportunity to exactly see what we had in the bag. So exciting to see what we can do with Henry at our full disposal. One side note I did want to bring up, Bateman did leave a couple of snaps in the Chiefs game. And like I predicted, Tylan Wallace was that replacement at X for him. So I think that bodes well for Tylan Wallace in the sense of getting more opportunities at receiver, regardless of what the lineup is, because he's able to play inside and outside.
It's a good thing. Bateman's big catch towards the end of the game. First of all, I'm glad to see it for a lot of reasons, because Lamar is kind of forced to try to make a throw to Bateman under those circumstances. But I can't help but thinking that there's still a trust issue there. And if there's definitely a timing issue, because that's just not Lamar's game, is to throw these pre-break passes to wide receivers. He really needs to see the play kind of unfolding before he's willing to throw the football. They've got to find a way. It's really the only thing about Lamar's game that I would point to that is really hurting the team a little bit. I mean, there's other little things, but not getting the line of scrimmage quickly enough, not getting the opportunity for play action or changes at the line. There's some of that still, but the big thing is really not being a timing quarterback, and that is unfortunate. Anyway, that's it.
They had one really good play, him and Bateman, where it was a quick curl in between the linebackers, like we talked about last week. That was an on-schedule play, and it looked amazing. I think more of that, and Lamar anticipating these windows and just finding the holes and not being, like you said, waiting for the window to open, anticipate it. And he can do that. We've seen him do it. I think it's just consistently trusting your eyes and trusting the read. And it also ties into the offensive line, because if you're not able to feel under control in the pocket, you can't really decipher where you're going to go, because you're worried about being a jitterbug back there.
All right. Outstanding. Always fun doing this show with you, Frazier. Tell folks where they can talk football with you online.
You guys can reach me at Twitter/X at F_Rave8. That's F_RAVE8.
Hey, folks, if you're listening on YouTube, please like and subscribe. And more importantly, if you're not, or even if you are, tell a friend about it. We always go by word of mouth. And if you like this kind of material, please do that, and you'll help the show a lot. We'll talk to you, Al. For Frazier Tavara, this is Ken McCusick, and we'll talk to you next time on Matchups.